As we dive into this next session, I think you could all agree that it's hard to flip through a business magazine or a trade magazine or search the internet for very long before you read something about how important data is to the business world today. It's everywhere, whether it's leveraging data to impact your bottom line or making data-driven decisions. It's something that we can't get away from. Well, about 18 months ago at NAED, we decided to really look at this issue and think about how it affects our industry. So we worked together with a group of distributors and really shared a passion with them around what it means to use data in your business. That ultimately led to our partnership with DNR International, because we really wanted to build a tool that was specific for our industry, that really helped provide a way for you guys to safely and securely share your data with a third party, not with NAED, but then also use that information and get meaningful insights out of it. So after 18 months of planning and blood, sweat, and tears, I'm thrilled to be able to tell you that last month we launched the NAED Market Data Program. So we have about 30 minutes today to share with you a little bit about the program. In just a moment, I'm going to play a video that will give you an overview at a high level of what this program's all about. And then Toby, Swope with DNR, is going to lead a panel discussion with some of our distributor partners that have been with us since the beginning on this. So we really hope that you'll find this insightful and valuable. If at any time during our time here this week, if you hear something that piques your interest or you have questions, I would encourage you to go on the NAED app. And if you scroll down about halfway, you'll see on the left-hand side, there's a button for market data. Click on that button, enter your information, and somebody from our team will be in touch with you. We'll answer your questions, get you more information, and set up a demo for you if you'd like, so you can really get in and see what the tool does, because it's really a fantastic product for our industry. It's bringing a whole new level of market intelligence to our industry that we haven't had before, so that's exciting. So with that, we will go ahead and get started.
So how's your business doing? Do you know? How do you know? You're up 3% over last year? Awesome. But what if the regional market is up 5%? Still feel good about that 3%? What about product categories in your regional market? Are you the go-to distributor for motors and drives? Is there a gap in your region for automation controls? In order to strategically plan your future, you need market data that is accurate, specific, and in context. In response to distributors' requests, NAED has partnered with DNR International to bring you the NAED Market Data Program. Based on DNR's market intelligence platform called Drive, this tool allows you to measure and track your company's gains or losses in a given market relative to the competition. Each month, you and other participating NAED members submit point-of-sale data through an automated, secure, and encrypted process, similar to the process you follow for the annual NAED PAR report. Once you're on board, monthly reporting will take 10 minutes or less, and in return, you will be able to compare your performance against the national, regional, and state markets, as well as metropolitan statistical areas or zip code levels when possible. Use standard reports or the custom query tool to unpack the data any way you wish, by time periods, product categories, and even by customer types. You'll be able to measure up-to-date market share, benchmark sales effectiveness, and project market growth. The Market Data Program is exclusive to NAED members and was developed with guidance from a committee of your NAED distributor peers. The data comes from member reporting and becomes richer with more participating distributors. It truly is a tool for NAED distributors by NAED distributors. Security and privacy are of primary importance to NAED, and DNR International has 35 years' experience and integrity handling data for market analysis for clients as diverse as the federal government, retailers, distributors, and manufacturers. And they have developed and managed a similar market data program for the Heating, Air Conditioning, and Refrigeration Distributors International. The transfer of the data itself is encrypted, just like the data submitted for the PAR report. NAED owns the market data program and the data. No one at NAED can see individual company data, and participating companies can only see their own company's specific data and how it compares to the market. Identities of participating companies will not be divulged by NAED or DNR. Aggregated data given at any level will need to meet these requirements before it is made available. This practice masks the identity of all participants. You can count on NAED's 110-year commitment to safeguard the integrity of members and the industry. Stop evaluating and planning based on a hunch about the electrical market. Harness the power of data in order to know the market. Plan your strategy with confidence with the NAED Market Data Program. To find out more or to participate, contact NAED.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Toby Swope from DNR International, and thanks for everyone for being here. I think the video gives a good overview. Normally I would go into a spiel about what DNR does and the program itself, but I think the video covered it all. We only have 30 minutes, and it goes by really fast. So I'm actually going to hand it over to our two panelists. I'll let them introduce themselves. I guess I should say multi-award winning panelists. And what I want to focus on is not, we talk about data, we talk about having access to this data. And the program is starting to collect all that data. We have breakdowns by geographic region, by product category, by customer segment. So a lot of this is harmonizing everyone's data to sort of a common system so you can really benchmark your own information. But it's nice to talk about having the data, but then the real question is, what do you do? So I'm going to have our two panelists kind of talk through how they envision using it from their perspectives, and then we can open it up for questions as time permits. Bethany is going to be sort of wandering around, so if you have a question for us, just raise your hand. And then I'll mention, because we'll probably be kind of rushing through the end, that we have a table over by registration. So if you're interested in more information, you have specific questions, I'll be there for the rest of the afternoon. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over. Erin, did you want to start?
Awesome, yeah. I think we'll go ahead and get started with a quick introduction. My name is Erin McKenrick, and I work at Van Meter. I've been with Van Meter for 9 years. And for those who maybe aren't familiar, we have 15 locations, and they're spread across Nebraska, Iowa, and also we have a branch in Chicago. My role is a market program manager, and so just a little bit, I guess, to give you an idea, I think we could probably relate with many in the crowd because I am responsible for pulling a lot of the data and providing it to our executives and doing analysis on that, in addition to some of the other work that I do leading some of the brand initiatives for our company. I am very passionate about data analytics, so much so that in May I just finished my master's in data analytics, and so I'm very excited about this tool and really excited to talk in more detail with you about it today.
My name is Sheila Hernandez. I'm with Summit Electric Supply. So we have 26 locations through Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Louisiana. We also have 3 divisions, a marine division, an international division, and an EP&C division. So I'm over marketing and have been with the company for 31 years. And so, again, as Erin said, data has always been something that I've really cared about and something that I've really struggled with in the industry because that was something that we didn't have a lot of. And so when NAED came and was asking questions around this, 18 months or 2 years ago or whatever it was, I was really excited to see it because within our company we had talked about how we knew that, say like NIMRA did things where they provided information out to manufacturers. And I knew that other industries were doing similar things, but we didn't really see something in our industry, and I was really happy to see NAED step up and help distributors in this area, because I think it is a place that we need to get a lot better with. We have worked as our company about trying to be much more data-driven over the last number of years. We hired a marketing analyst, but part of that is now what data do they have to work with and how can we start to make decisions off of that. So I'm really happy about this program.
So I guess the first question for both of you is really, okay, we've talked about pulling the data and using it internally. How do you envision this adding value to your organization, or how do you envision this adding value to your role?
Yeah, so I can start with that. A little background. So for years, I've been pulling data, both the Vista Epicor data, and then also from Herm with disk data, and pulling that together. And you really just have one source when you're pulling specific segments of customers, and on the Vista side, you're looking at more product categories. So you really have one source, and then in addition, although they're good tools, I found myself constantly waiting for them to update and to provide the information. Sometimes it would be quarterly, sometimes it's only twice a year, and trying to get my hands on the data. And then for me personally, I have always taken the data and then had to, based on the way it's given to us as distributors, I have to pull the data into a spreadsheet in order to make some visualizations on it. And so I found that there were some pain points in that, not having access to that data right away and having to manually kind of play with it in order to present it to the executives is a frustration that I have. And so that's one thing I like about this tool, is that by providing our data on a monthly basis, we have access to it constantly. Not to mention it's point of sale data, so it's real-time data, and the ability to export it and to do what you need to do with it, or to pull it into your CRM system if you want to create a dashboard and share it across the company. So that was a huge benefit to me. And then the other thing I would mention is just in regards to the accuracy. I know from talking to other distributors who aren't on an Epicor platform, just being honest, that there's some reluctancy to provide data through the Epicor Vista system, and this is a third party where more and more distributors can supply that data, and the big benefit to that is accuracy. The more distributors that submit, the higher the accuracy is of that data.
So we're similar over the years. We've subscribed to DISC for many, many years, and certainly work to utilize it within our industry or within our business. And there was always how's this data, it's based on census data. Census data is old, there's a lot of pieces to that I think the information is very valuable, but having additional information that is actually provided by the distributors, where it's real data, makes it, I think, much easier to try and get the business to recognize the validity of it and the credibility of it, when sometimes the third-party data that is driven by models is easier to, if it doesn't represent what the business might have in their mind of what they think reality is, it's a harder sell sometimes to convince, as opposed to when these are what our competitors are submitting to the program and it is their point of sale. It's a much different conversation, I think. And as Erin said, the really important part to this is getting a wide variety of distributors to participate, because the more people that participate, the more valuable the data is, the more accurate it is across the entire region that we're trying to compare. Another one that we did use was, there's certainly another one out there with MDM, the Modern Distribution Management. But all of these look at things differently, and they're all using assumptions, and that's why I really like this one, is because it is based on real data, point of sales submitted by distributors, what they actually sold. And that is a very different, much stronger way of looking at data, as opposed to some of the other ones that are out there. So.
Why wait a year to figure out your market share and how you stand against your competitors when you can have access to that being updated on a monthly basis?
The other thing I really like about it is that because when submitting data, the distributors, and then also in conjunction with DNR, looking at breaking down those sales not only by customer segment but also by product type. So when you can start to look at not just the the market share within a region or a territory, but also by customer segment, by product type. These are very strong pieces of data that can help us in our business, as opposed to just, up 3% or down. There's additional ways of dicing and slicing the data that can be used within the business to help us grow sales and to know where we're at and where the potential is at in the market compared to what we're doing.
So along those lines, without giving away all of your trade secrets, what specific questions do you think the data will be able to answer, whether they're coming from your executive team, marketing, sales, whatever? What are the questions that you anticipate the system being able to answer?
Yeah, how are we performing, and what do our sales trends look like, to be able to pull that into an easy visual right there within the system? What is our market share? What product categories are we strong in? What are we weak in? Where are we losing? Where are we gaining? To be able to answer those questions.
Definitely. I think certainly where is potential at is a huge one for us. Not just what are we doing, but where we might be missing things that either in a customer segment or in a product category. We could also look at, are we mapped geographically correctly? Our sales territories might be another question that we answer is, do we have our people targeted the right direction? Are they distributed in regions the way that we should have them? So there's lots of different ways to look at it, and I think it's all about giving us the information we need to go out and attack the market.
Just recognizing we are only having 30 minutes, we'll open it up if anyone has any questions, if anything for the panel. If not, we can talk about, we do have one. Okay.
So Steve, I can project. Will either our company or be disclosed that we're participating, and/or will we know what other companies in our market will be participating?
So as part of the antitrust guidelines, and also because the data that you're providing is highly confidential, the policy for NAED and DNR is that we don't disclose any participants' information. Now,
Correct response.
we can't prevent participants from coming up and talking about their experience, and so you will hear from participants every once in a while. But we do a similar program with Hardy on the HVAC side. There, we've been doing it for about 6 years, and we can now say we have 100 participants, but that's about as much information as we can even provide on that. But yeah, we'll never talk to you about participating in front of everyone else. We will never mention your name. We may ask, can we use your name? But you can always tell us no.
Well, and there's also criteria that a certain number of distributors have to be participating within a given area, and that no one distributor can be over a certain percentage of the total sales. So there's protections in there to try and make sure that people can't back out the data, because like you, we wouldn't have participated if we thought that there was the ability for people to start backing into numbers. And confidentiality is huge in this, and we all recognize that. So we have to be able to have the assurance that there is protections around that.
On a similar note, I've also been asked a question about the confidentiality in providing our customer data, our point of sale data, over to D+R, and that was a topic that we had internally at Van Meter before we officially signed on. And what D+R has allowed us to do is to set up our reports. They are sent to their FTP site on a monthly basis automatically, and we send those with our customer numbers and the sales figures. And so they're not connecting the dots, right? Not that you have time to do that, but they're not connecting the dots to figure out, what is customer 1, 2, 3, 4, who is that individual. We're not necessarily putting the customer name and all of the additional information with that. Now we could drill down within the tool and say, okay, I know that customer number, and I could figure out. So you have that ability, I guess, to determine just how much information that you want to provide, whether it's just customer number or beyond.
And we do the same. We're submitting the same way. And there was, within the committee, there was a lot of conversation about this on the task force that has been working on this. And the task force was made up of large, medium, and small distributors. So trying to encompass the full breadth of people and all the concerns within the industry, because the recognition that it is confidential data, and also the fact that it was pointed out on the video, but that the only person or the only company who actually sees the real raw data is DNR. Even NAED doesn't have access to the raw data. So, again, putting in those protections for the distributors that participate.
Do you have a coverage map that would show which geographies that you are? Oh, sorry. A coverage map. Do you have anything that shows geographically what areas that you do cover?
It's coming soon because
Okay.
we just launched in July, but we are intending to put that out.
Great,
so you
thanks.
Can see. On the, we have a question in the back.
You mentioned higher accuracy. How are you going to obtain the higher accuracy? Is that getting more distribution than a third into the program, or is it only reporting out, on the participants and maybe not having the entire market share data?
So it's two parts, and I think to answer in terms of representative market share, what we've encountered in other industries is once you get to about 25–30%, what we find is that as new participants join, they're really not moving the mix of products that much. So that said, it depends on the participants. If you get a lot of participants within certain geographic regions or for certain product categories, you may be able to open up that granularity a lot sooner. But as far as opening up that granularity, we're starting at a very high level, because one thing we don't want to do is release any information that might give away what's going on in a particular market for a particular product. So we really take a look at the data every month, make sure before we're publishing any information that we have enough data there. So to start, it's going to be at a very high level. So it's going to be national for all product categories, for all customer segments, and then we just look at it in an iterative way each month, and then start to open up more granular levels. So for example, we may get a lot of participants within a particular state. We may be able to open up that state before others, or within a particular MSA. And again, it's just looking at the data each month. I don't know if does that answer your question?
It kind of gives the answer to the approach, but just compared to other tools that are out, you mentioned Epicor, and just didn't know if you're going to get a higher participant. Is the goal to get more participation? But it sounds like it'll be a limited data set until you feel comfortable with the data.
Yeah, so I think the answer is we'd like 100% participation, but obviously we know that's going to be a long ways off. Again, similar system that we did with HVAC, it took about 6 months to a year to get enough participants in that we could start reporting with some granularity. So we, as we mentioned, we just launched in July, so we're right now sort of reaching out to everybody about the program. I will mention too, if you do want a demonstration, it said in the video to contact NAED, and I would encourage you, if you want to see how the system actually works, how the reporting tool works. We will have again, the table out there, and I can show you on our laptop how the system runs.
This is really, I think, one of those chicken and the egg situations where I think we have to look at it from what the vision of what it can be, and that, when starting out of the gate, there isn't a lot of data because there's, it's brand new. And so do we buy into the vision? Do we believe that this is something that's good for our companies long term? And then, starting to get people on board so that we can build that to become what I think it can and will be.
Any plans to open this up to manufacturers? Any plans to open this up to manufacturers?
I think the answer is long term. The initial offer is just for distributors, and once we get enough data in, then I think NAED is willing to explore that question.
I will say we've had a lot of interest from manufacturers, so it's definitely on the radar. But right now our focus is on the distributors and getting them set up and established.
I will say, so one of the ways, if you are a manufacturer supplier, that you can help is with the product categorization. So NAED has been working with IDEA through IDW. To classify the products, and we're harmonizing around UNSPSC code. So the more information you can provide to IDW, the more accurate the categorization will be, which may actually lead to being able to open up to manufacturers sooner. But again, it's a decision that NAED will have to make over, once we get more data in. If we don't have any questions, I'll touch on the customer information, because I know that if there's one thing that's more sensitive than your POS information, it's your customer information. We're trying to harmonize around NAECS codes, and so for distributors that either categorized by SIC or NAECS codes, we can convert those over for you. For some distributors, if you just have the customer information, what we have done is work with participants offline to categorize your customers. So that's another value add. If you haven't done customer segmentation or categorization yet, we can actually help you get started. And the way it works is we just look at your highest level customers in terms of volume sales and categorize them for you. And so that can help you sort of get caught up.
I think on all of these types of projects where, like Toby was just saying, you're doing it for one reason, this one, to participate in the program and get the information back, but there's all these corresponding things that you have to do as part of it, the classification of products, classification of customers, but there's all these other benefits that go along with doing that. And so it opens up the door to other things that you can do within your company, and probably urges you along the road to doing some things within your data that you might not have done, and it actually improves your data as well. So there's lots of what I would call tangential benefits as well.
We were using SIC codes until this tool came up, and we've talked about for years, we should probably maybe hire Dun & Bradstreet to help us convert it, and there's a kind of a large cost involved to that. And then when we found out about this tool and the services of D+R, they've been exceptional to work with and actually did it for free. So, we are a member of this service, but they jumped in and have worked well with us, done a great job of taking our customer data and our SIC codes and converting those over into a NAECS industry code that we can not only use within this new tool, but we can then import back into our system and have that information.
And then I will mention that we're doing similar work on the product side. I had mentioned UNSPSC codes, but we have talked to several distributors that are trying to align their ERPs with NEMA's codes and trying to get some harmonization within the industry. So when you're talking about a particular product category, are you talking about it the same way as everyone else? And so that's one of the benefits too with this program, is that hopefully we'll be able to get everybody on the same page. So when you are trying to benchmark, within a product category, you're all saying the same thing. Any other questions? I think we're right on time. So we will pause here and take a break for 5 minutes. We have been asked to plug the app, and if you have had a chance to review the session and provide your rating. And as I mentioned, we'll be at the booth, sort of right next to registration. So if you have questions or you'd like to see the system, please come on by. And as I mentioned, I'll be around this whole day. Happy to answer questions. If you like talking data, I can talk for hours. But thank you, everyone.